Thanks for pressing play on this video. Now, normally Two and Out gets you ready for the upcoming week in the Canadian Football League on Wednesdays, but Tuesday was such a big day that I just had to give you some immediate reaction and let you know what has gone on so far this week. And it is huge news as Nathan Rourke is back in the Canadian Football League, and he is back with the BC Lions. Now, Nathan Rourke was with the Lions in 2021. You will remember that Michael Riley was their quarterback that year, but injured for much of the year. Rourke took a lot of the reps in practice, so once 2022 came around and Michael Riley retired, Rourke stepped into the offense and he dominated the league early that season. That season, he played 10 games. He had 3,349 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Now, he did get injured that year, and he came back in the West Final against the Bombers, but ended up losing that game. Following the 2022 season, Rourke went to the NFL, and he has bounced around with a few teams. He played with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the New England Patriots. He was recently with the New York Giants, and most recently with the Atlanta Falcons, although a pretty tough appearance in their preseason game last Friday where he went 3 for 13. He was promptly released, wondering if he would take one more shot at the NFL or come north to Canada. And we do have our answer. The Victoria-born quarterback is back with the BC Lions, and we do have the contract details now, and they are obviously huge. Farhan Lalji of TSN reporting that in 2025, he's going to make $750,000. And in 2026, it's going to be $809,000. 200,000 of those dollars are going to be counted as marketing money. That doesn't count towards the CFL salary cap. Now, what is this marketing money? I thought Robert Dalton of the Rouge Radio podcast had a pretty nice summary of this. Each team gets a minimum of $100K in marketing, but there's no max. Brady Oliveira gets $30K in marketing dollars, so of his $220,000 contract, only $190K does count against the cap. This changes everything. And I mean everything. I really thought that Rourke was going to wait until the offseason and take offers from other teams, but it almost seems to me like maybe they had this deal in a drawer. I think the legendary Wally Buono would do things like that, and if the opportunity presented himself, he would come back to BC. He was in Vancouver recently, and he spoke about the desire to return to the BC Lions if he were to return to Canada. He could even start this Sunday against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Recently, the Lions went to Winnipeg, got shut out 25-0 in a game where their current quarterback, Vernon Adams Jr, got injured. Now the Bombers go on by. I'm sure they prepare to play Jake Dolegala, who did get the start for the Lions against the Elks over the weekend. But now they've got to prepare for what some call Kid Canada. Big money, Grey Cup in Vancouver, Touchdown Pacific in Vancouver, Nathan Rourke, or it's in Victoria, sorry. Nathan Rourke, born in Victoria, playing for the BC Lions Labor Day weekend on the island. This is so cool, but it does bring up what happens to Vernon Adams Jr. playing the best football of his career, MOP caliber football for the Lions so far this season in 9 games, 2,469 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He also adds 167 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns as well. This is Vernon Adams Jr.'s contract. Through 2026, $500,000 fully guaranteed in 2025, and half of the $505,000 guaranteed in 2026. There's been some rumblings that maybe this doesn't exactly mean that Vernon Adams Jr. loses his job the rest of 2024, but there's no way these quarterbacks are going to be on the roster, the same roster in 2025. You have to assume that the Lions wouldn't want to move them to a West Division team, but I think of some of the fits in the West. And with Trey Ford becoming a free agent this offseason, Trevor Harris getting older in Saskatchewan, Jake Mayer underperforming in Calgary, or at least being inconsistent, I have to assume some Western teams would really want him. And then you look out east, Bo Levi Mitchell lost his job to Taylor Powell for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but a bright future for Taylor Powell. Maybe the Ticats want to stay with that and save some of that salary. I think the Alouettes are happy with their quarterbacks. Ottawa, I think they're happy with Drew Brown when he's healthy. Toronto, well, they paid big money to Chad Kelly, so this changes everything. Rourke returning to BC. What will the free agent market look like for quarterbacks this offseason? I don't think Vernon Adams Jr. is a quarterback that you just cut. So this is going to be fascinating to see how the Lions work this out. Most of all, it is just exciting to see Rourke back into the CFL, back with the Lions. They were already expecting a big crowd against Winnipeg this Sunday. Now you have to assume the BC Lions faithful are going to be even more excited to see the return of number 12 in orange and black. I know football's a business. It's all about winning games. But I do feel for the person, Vernon Adams Jr., finally getting that opportunity and playing great football. And I know he's injured right now, but he is looking at returning to the field. And this will serve as a distraction. I think the Lions will definitely look to bury that distraction. But Vernon Adams Jr. is a great teammate, a great leader. He has earned the opportunities he has gotten this year and the contract he signed with the Lions in the offseason. We'll see where this goes and if Nathan Rourke will be as effective as he was a couple of years ago. You have to assume he's still in shape. He's been in NFL training camps, NFL games, and the BC Lions coaching staff is pretty much the same as when he did go to the NFL. So things are going to be very familiar when he comes back with offensive coordinator Jordan Maximic. But I wonder if this was already in the works. The Lions let Dominic Rhymes go to Ottawa, the receiver, in the offseason. They let Lucky Whitehead go to free agency, and Lucky actually just re-debuted with the Bombers and scored a touchdown against the Lions a couple weeks ago. You have to assume that maybe freed up some money for the BC Lions. Exciting times ahead on the West Coast. But on the exact same day, we found out the identity of the new owner of the Edmonton Elks. Now, I don't think that they thought that this news would leak, and then the Nathan Rourke news would leak on the same day, burying the big news, ending community ownership in Edmonton after 75 years, meaning there's only 2 community-owned teams left in the Canadian Football League, in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Saskatchewan Roughriders. Dave Naylor of TSN saying, according to a source, the new owner of the Edmonton Elks is Larry Thompson. He comes from the construction business. He's local. And obviously a longtime ticket holder, a fan of Edmonton football as well. I've read that some sales of some assets, maybe with Thompson Brothers Construction last year, resulted in him having about $800 million in the bank. So that's what I like to call stupid money, and clearly makes him one of the richest owners in the CFL. So the Elks are his new toy, I guess. What's he going to do with this new toy? Interesting rumors surrounding the name of the team going forward. There's going to be a press conference introducing Larry Thompson to the public on Thursday, and Dustin Nielsen says that he's heard that there will be a desire to rebrand over the next 1 or 2 years to either Esks or back to Eskimos. Now, Esks ends up just changing the L out, but, changing all of the branding everywhere on the field, on the stationery, at the stadium, back to what it used to be. This is very, very interesting. I don't know what the CFL itself is going to think about this, but like I said, stupid money. And we've seen rogue owners in the past. I'm not saying Larry Thompson is a rogue owner, but could this be the Al Davis of the CFL? You know what I mean? Just doing whatever he wants. And hey, I was a fan of this team. I was connected to the team when it was this name. And I'm going to change it back because I got all the money in the world and I want to see that team back on the field. I personally think it would be silly. It would be embarrassing for multiple reasons. Like changing the name back 3 years after you went through this great rebrand. I mean, you got a new mascot, you did all this stuff, and just to go back to what it was. Now it could be whatever. They changed their name to the apple pies from the cherry pies, and then they go back to the cherry pies. I would think that was embarrassing as well. But maybe that's just another one of those things that only happens in the CFL. Larry Thompson coming in as the new owner of the Edmonton Elks. Does changing the name solve their problems? Does it solve winning, no home games in almost 4 calendar years? But the connection with the alumni is apparent. They're not connected to this Edmonton Elks name. And a lot of them have been very clear about that. And those alumni are the ones that have brought championships to Edmonton. Will it sell more tickets? Maybe in the short term. But if they continue to not have success on the field, long term, I don't think it makes a bit of difference. And then, of course, you have the league to deal with. What will they have to say about another rebrand in Edmonton? We know who the owner of the Elks is now. He's going to be introduced to the public this week. And Nathan Rourke back in the CFL with the BC Lions, possibly starting on Sunday. Tuesday was a massive day in the Canadian Football League. The 2 and Out CFL podcast will bring you our Week 11 preview late on Wednesday night. If you like this and you want more CFL talk, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a comment, and you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts as well.